up a few months ago. Germans are not like Americans. I mean, we talk a good paranoid game when it comes to energy security, but we really don't care. We don't care where we get our energy. We could get some from Canada, some from Mexico, we make a bunch ourselves, we take some from Saudi Arabia. If we don't think anyone is watching all that closely, we'll take some from Venezuela, whatever, we don't care. Germans don't have that option. They've got precision manufacturing, they're in a tough neighborhood with no energy. They prefer large, long-term contracts at fixed prices and fixed volumes with state-owned players that they find more reliable. And the stuff has to be shipped on fixed infrastructure so there's no variability. So they work with Russia's Gazprom, they bring it in from Nord Stream, 40% of the total. It's gone. Now they have replaced the volumes with 7 different marginal suppliers. We're now in an environment where the Germans are having a very mild winter. Their reserves are completely full. They've already lined up replacements, but because they're all marginal, prices in Germany are now 6 times what they were the day the war started. They're not going down until they get a new mainline supplier, and the nearest non-Russian one is Nigeria. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that we have to think about German manufacturing a lot differently, because they do. We're also not very interested as to where we get all of our parts. Some from Texas, some from Korea, some from Mexico, whatever. Germans can't function that way. So they use the natural gas that they bring in from the Russians. They use it to power their electricity system, and it's the feedstock for their petrochemical system. And those petrochemicals are not exported. They then feed in to support the entirety of the German manufacturing sector. That first step is broken, so the rest of it is breaking. The Germans have already stopped all industrial processing of natural gas. They're no longer making fertilizer. They're no longer smelting aluminum. They're no longer forging steel. They had already cut their automotive sector by over 1/3 before we had hiccups with demand about a month ago. The whole thing is shutting down because the base thing that it's built on is gone and is not coming back. We have, at most, 24 months before the German industrial model collapses. BASF, their largest chemical concern, is in the process of physically dismantling all of their industrial plant in Germany and shipping it to Louisiana in the hope that they can build enough petrochemical capacity here and ship the product back to Germany to save their country in less than 2 years. But that would require a build out in Louisiana that is faster than what the Germans did during World War II. That's not going to happen. If you want a Beamer, buy it now. This is the last model. Be sure to get 10 years of parts too. Oh, and it's going to get so much worse because this is the backup plan. Pipes that go through the conflict zone in a war that is defined by artillery exchanges. Never forget that on the 3rd day of the war, the Russians accidentally blew up Chernobyl. Yeah, this is going to get so much worse before it gets better. All right, one more little issue before we get to the really big stuff. Chairman Xi has consolidated more power unto his person than any human in history. More than the Kim dynasty in North Korea, more than Caligula of Rome. He has exiled or imprisoned or intimidated into silence or just flat out executed everyone in the People's Republic who is capable of independent thought. And as a result, we are seeing catastrophic policy decisions across the entire space. In many ways, he has become what Donald Trump always dreamed of. It's the voices in his head, there's adoration, and there's absolutely nothing in between. He believes he's been fed the Russian propaganda and he believes it, especially on energy issues. Now, we all know that that super raft is going away before too long. That's 1 million to 1.5 million barrels a day that the Chinese are going to lose. But there's also another 1 million to 1.5 million barrels a day that comes from eastern Siberia. And every single one of those projects was not done by the Russians. That was done primarily by BP, which is also gone. Now, we've never had a technical retreat from an advanced energy project at this scale, at this speed before. We don't know how long the Russians can keep it operating. Is it 2 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 years? Don't know. But we know it's all going away. And the Chinese are going to have to suck up the near entirety of that as well. The Chinese have bought their own propaganda. Xi personally has. Joe Biden's a fun one. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that everyone has an opinion on Joe Biden. You guys remember last May when it came out that the Chinese were experiencing rolling blackouts? Xi found out in September from Joe Biden in a phone call. I don't know anyone who thinks of Joe Biden as a source of breaking news. But this carries out through the entire space. About a month ago, a bubble popped. There's this weird belief in the United States that China is a peer power with the United States when it comes to technology, which is just a crazy idea. But let me kind of lay it out for you. The Chinese can't make the high-end chips. They can't make the medium quality chips. They can make the low quality, but only on equipment that is imported, that's operated with tools that are imported and software that is imported. And the 3 quality checks that have to be done on every wafer every day is done almost exclusively by teams that are managed by foreigners. About a month ago, the Biden administration says you can't import the high-level chips or the mid-level chips or the equipment or the tools or the software, and any American working in the sector now has to choose between their citizenship and their job. And within 24 hours, every American in the sector was either transferred abroad or quit. It's already over. And everything that comes from semiconductors is also over. AI, done. Social monitoring, done. The Great Firewall, done. Hypersonics, done. Automation, done. With a couple of executive orders, Biden killed the Chinese dreams. It's already gone. There's, of course, the issue of COVID. Now, we're in a red-ish state. I'm going to guess that you've all been exposed to different thought processes when it comes to the virus.